Morning, everyone. Oh, let's put a light on. I always forget to put the light on.
I'm just doing a quick minute of tidying. I'll be with you in a minute.
Yeah,
we've got somebody coming around.
Got a friend coming at 10, so he might crash into the end. How are we all? How is everyone? Hello, Faith Goodman, Bethan Williams, Sazzy19.
Hi, everyone.
Bethan Williams, Sazzy19, Mandy Dennis, Sally O'Sullivan, Vicky, Helen 74, Nicholas Sinnott, Claire Ross Reed, Maureen Beery. It's Nicholas Sinnott's birthday tomorrow. We'll sing that to you tomorrow. Henrietta Henson, Nora Doyle, Gabrielle, Liz Lowe, Isabel Mia, Jalista, Buongiorno.
Isabel Mia.
Buongiorno. Oh look, there's Nadia. She's like Norman Wisdom in the background. In a minute she'll do an Eric.
Lovely dinner lady arms.
Give me sunshine in your smile, bring me laughter all the while. In this world that we live, there can be such happiness. Bring
me
sunshine in your smiles, bring me laughter all the while. In this world that we live, we can bring such happiness.
Bring me sunshine. Do you think Maddie would ever in a million years take her seaweed?
Of course not.
Every single morning I find that seaweed.
It's what teenagers do. Sorry, Dr. Natalie, we couldn't get the words. Thank you, Bernie Jack. Great voice, hardly. My granddad's favourite Hazel Caldera. Does that mean I'm getting old? Because it's becoming one of my favourites.
I love it.
How are we all? I did a little, obviously, this is our news digest. Our digest of the news. Not a digestive biscuit, but a bit of digestive news gathering. Alfie Saunders, good morning, Squire. Good morning, Richard Kavanagh. I love Morecambe and Wise.
They watched Des last night.
Did anyone watch Des? Check out our live review. If you haven't, catch them up. It's the last one tonight. I'm hoping we're going to get shitloads of David Tennant, bagloads of his nastiness, and even more Jason Watkins. Daniel Mays is very good. But yeah, check out our review. Des, it's good, isn't it? It's, as I said yesterday, it's a water cooler drama, except people aren't hanging around water coolers because they're having to socially distance. So what do we call it? What's the equivalent of the water cooler moment in COVID? Yeah, the Zoom moment.
Yeah.
The Zoom moment.
It doesn't have the same ring to it.
Does it? And what's so clever about Des is that they're not showing any grisly murders, and it's still grisly and worrying. I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack, so if I do, I apologise right now. Sarah Elliott, thank you for your reviews. Yeah, you know, we worked it out. We're the only British TV reviewing YouTube channel. Yeah. Only. I mean, obviously, we don't do everything because we're not a dedicated TV review channel, but we try to do the stuff that captures the zeitgeist.
I did an interview for Steve Wright's show yesterday. It's going to be out next week, I think. And he introduced me as a loose woman, actress, and successful vlogger.
Oh!
And I was like, I love that.
Successful vlogger.
That made my ears prick up.
Oh, that's sweet.
Successful vlogger. Wow.
Karen T, I'm exhausted today, Mark. Daughter has school anxiety and 6 kids in my class have colds and were coughing yesterday. Well, one of the headlines I saw last night is that apparently, it was on Sky News anyway, lots of headmasters are saying that more schools than we think are going to have to close not because of students necessarily running rife with their, well, I mean, I guess it is a symptom of the students having coronavirus, but there aren't enough tests to test the teachers quickly enough to ensure safety.
These are teachers that aren't ill, but they might have come up against
absolutely.
symptoms,
So
or they might have one little symptom.
So this backlog of tests, and today the Times are running a story about the fact that they're going to ration tests because apparently, Nads, the rate of infection is now surging equivalently to how it has in the younger population amongst middle-aged people, my age. So apparently it's reached 23 in every 1,000, which is the equivalent to, when it's over 20, we quarantine from other countries. So in my age group, my demographic, it's at 23 per 1,000, which, and for countries that we put into quarantine, people have to go into quarantine, it's 20. So the markers are creeping up, that's for a fact. But
is it, this is an interesting question. I don't know if you know the answer to this. You know how there's very few hospitalisations and deaths. I was reading a really encouraging article about this yesterday, actually. But is that the same in your age group?
What?
Or are there more hospitalisations for your age group?
I don't think there's any more hospitalisations across the board. I just think the rates of infection are going up.
Oh, so maybe it is weakening a bit then, the virus.
Well, I don't see how it can't be. If the rates, if we're getting more and more infections but fewer and fewer deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the only definitive thing you can draw from it. Thank you, Andrew Smith. I'll have a look at my DMs, though I have to confess I have so many that sometimes they just disappear or vaporise. But I will take a look. What was I going to say?
Hospitalisations are up by 30%, says Epsington. Is that right? Is that right?
I don't know. I haven't seen any statistics. I'd have thought the news would jump on that.
That's a massive statistic.
That's a massive statistic. Gabrielle, Boris' relationships with other countries is poor and he won't take any advice from them about how to manage testing. Cancel HS2, use the money for more labs and staff to test. It's not a bad idea, especially when you think that HS2 is all about more commuting, and we could be looking at a sort of an era of less commuting. It does beg the question, doesn't it? So the government are talking about rationing tests, and within this, rationing after a day of massive test shortages. At one point yesterday, there wasn't a single test to be had in England.
Really?
Yeah. Not a single
Well, we go back to what
test.
we were saying yesterday.
Look,
it's like they're asking us to do
there
stuff.
were no coronavirus tests available in
meet.
England at points yesterday.
Oh, God.
What's that about?
Ridiculous.
What's that about? Don't be scared, Jess. Look, the point is the news is building us all into a frenzy. But the point is, fewer and fewer. Keep observing the rules. Keep observing the social distancing. Keep observing the PPE where you can, when you can. And if the numbers are going up, there is some merit to this herd immunity. If you sort of dodge the bullet, so to speak, and the numbers go up, and we develop a herd immunity, brilliant.
Jodie, I'm just seeing there that you're saying TV presenters are getting tested every 4 days. I haven't been tested once for Loose Women.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, right.
I've been tested for other jobs when you're going into a
maybe
big new...
the nature of some jobs, it might be the case.
But I certainly don't think that's happening.
I think I saw that there was a major cast member of Corrie test positive yesterday. They had to stop production.
Yeah.
I
think the other thing is, in a way, television, we have to remember that a lot of people don't have digital, they don't have Sky, they don't have all these things. And actually mainstream television for a lot of people is the only company they have.
Have you looked at what's in our title today?
No, I haven't looked at it.
BBC licence fee in tatters. Leo Vibefield drew my attention to this yesterday when she said how she was going to watch Des, and she said that she no longer pays her licence fee, it's too expensive, and inappropriate for the majority of young people do not watch terrestrial TV. Now, this is quite dramatic, having worked for the BBC and knowing how critical the licence fee is to production budgets alone. Forget staffing and everything else, but just to make programmes. There were 250,000 fewer licence fee payers. It went down by 250,000 in the last year. Now, just think of the figure before we run with the story. That is an enormous number of people.
It's enormous.
Enormous, because that's tens of millions. Now, the reason for that is most young people are not watching the telly.
Yeah.
They're watching this.
We don't know any young people that watch the telly unless we force them to watch something.
Or streaming.
But, yesterday, when you look at those massive fees that some presenters have been hoiked up.
I know.
I just thought it's so inappropriate in the current climate.
And it does seem strange, doesn't it?
Because it pisses people off when you pay too much. I don't know why, but it's weird. When I was in EastEnders, I remember somebody saying to me, when you're in a regular BBC show, people that pay their licence fee do actually have a certain feeling of ownership. About you.
Yeah, well, because they have literally invested in you.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people get very cross when they see so much money being paid to presenters who are already getting a really good fee, and then it's increased. Yeah. They just get irate with it. And I think a lot of people actually... Well, somebody DM'd me yesterday, somebody messaged me yesterday and said that they were cancelling their licence fee just simply over that thing.
Jennifer H. Nobody watches TV. It's Netflix, YouTube, and social sites.
Well, the thing is, listening to people and what they want.
No, absolutely. But also, things like Netflix. Yes, these all have subscription fees and what have you, but they're very cleverly, these streaming services, going for what I call factual entertainment. So, series that you would normally pick up or catch on Channel 4 or BBC, and they make them in bulk, and then you can stream them all in one go.
Are they doing House Under the Hammer yet?
No, they haven't done that. No, I mean, I must admit, I think daytime telly, and obviously your show is a daytime TV show, does serve quite an important purpose. And I don't think you almost can't emulate that anywhere else.
No.
That's a very specific thing.
I mean, when Loose Women was off, people, you saw how many messages we were getting. People were so upset. Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, a lot of people don't like it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But I think for a lot of people, it's just company in the middle of the day. It feels a bit like friends chatting. Lots of people have their lunch to it. And I think it will always have a place, television.
But smart
it's
TVs,
going to have to learn to move with the times.
But smart TVs allow people to stream this onto their big screens. So, the idea that the television is just... We're not very into that. We stream some apps through the telly. But a lot of people just pump all of their content through their TV.
How many of you watch... Just say yes if you watch us on the telly. I'll be really interested.
What, on a TV screen?
When I think of you guys...
Screen?
When I think of you guys, I think of you on your phone, watching us on your phone.
Or an iPad.
And every so often, we've seen a photograph, haven't we, of somebody watching us on their big telly, like ironing or holding the baby. Yes. And we're like, oh my God, are we on the telly?
Sit a bit further back then.
Are we on the telly now? Shit.
Sorry about that. I apologise for the last however many years of shoving my face in your face.
Because we must be so big on the telly, because we're so
Christ.
close.
And I'm sweating
my
today.
God,
It's
and when
hideous.
we look like this,
Oh.
sorry.
What do you mean? Speak for yourself.
You look nice, actually. I love it. Isn't his haircut so amazing?
Haircut.
I know, I said.
Haircut.
Please don't.
Sorry.
Because it makes me so
Oh,
anxious.
I'm sorry, sweetie. I just thought it was funny.
No, I know, but I do it all the time. And it
We
makes me
discussed.
really
Well, no,
frightened.
we'll talk about that in the vlog. We're going to do a vlog on that. I only stream via my phone. You're on my big screen, baby. George Holland. Yes, I watch it on TV. Hit the thumbs up icon. That's why a lot of people can't hit the thumbs up icon, because they're watching it on a telly.
Ah.
I'd have thought, because otherwise...
Oh, look, Green Fingered Hell is beautiful on the big screen, says Donna Foster.
Oh, is it? Oh, wow.
Oh, that's so
that's
lovely.
nice to know. That's nice to know. You're going to hate me saying this phrase, but solar flares are back in the news.
Oh, no, I don't want to hear. Stick your fingers in your ears if you don't want to know
So
this.
the sun goes through 11-year cycles.
Oh, please don't.
And we're coming out of one of the...
Tamar watches us on a 55-inch telly.
Oh, Jesus
no,
Christ.
don't get back on
just
the
my
phone.
head will be 10 inches. And so we're in it hasn't, listen to this, it's a bit of science. So they have 11-year cycles. We're coming out of one of the sort of least disruptive cycles in its history.
Oh,
and we're
God.
entering a cycle that's going to peak in 2025. So we've got 5 years. In 5 years' time, I reckon it's going to be hot and all our tech's going to be totally screwed.
Please don't. Why are you saying that? Don't listen to him. He's just, this is extra dramatic.
Momentarily. I mean, this is being reported in CNN. But I mean, we're going to have solar flares and things like that.
This is going to be the next...
I find it fascinating, those solar flares.
Yeah, but this is going to be the next thing they're going to try and terrify us with. We've got enough on our plate. Let's just hope it doesn't happen.
I haven't. I want more. Any more
really
bad news,
ill,
Natasha Tiramos? You look really well.
Ew.
Well, you're not particularly well at the moment, are you? Other news, Sadiq Khan is pushing for a rent freeze in London. I think this is something that's quite a good idea. So in order to sort of combat incoming evictions, which at some point they're going to have to release that sort of piece of legislation that prevents evictions, they could input a little bit of protection with a rent freeze. Now, a rent freeze doesn't necessarily mean people won't be evicted, but it will remove the impetus to evict people to get people paying more. Do you see what I'm saying?
No.
Well, often if you evict someone, you're evicting them because you want to up your rates and you get someone in and get them paying more.
I think people are wanting to evict people because...
Well, there is that.
They
need their property, they need the cash.
I think people are wanting to evict people at the moment because they can't pay their rent and therefore the landlords can't pay their mortgage.
But if there's a rent-free... So anyway, so for 500,000, for the 2.2 million people in London, Sadiq Khan is trying to push for a rent freeze because there is, I think, 1st of
What
October...
happens to the landlord that's got to pay their mortgage?
Well, I suppose they have
Are they
to...
going to do a mortgage freeze?
That's a good point. Don't know.
Well, because, not every landlord is a multi-millionaire Scrooge that's screaming. I remember seeing one of these, these shows where they go and knock your door down and take everything. I don't know what it's called. What are those people called that
Bailiffs.
go... Bailiffs. And There was a guy there, oh my God, he was waiting outside for the bailiffs. He was having to leave his home because he'd rented out this property to pay for this other home, and the person wasn't paying the rent. So he was effectively becoming homeless.
Right.
So it's not always as easy as it looks. You stop the rent, a lot of people are going to be in a lot of trouble.
I think people are saying, why just Londoners? I agree. I
think just Londoners?
Well, no, I agree. Well, because Sadiq Khan's the only one who's pressing the government. He's publicising it, and he's going for it, and he's putting it in the press.
Does every city in the country have a mayor?
Well, Manchester does, doesn't it? It has your chap that you
God,
really love.
I love him. Yeah. I want Andy Burnham. I wish he was the head of the Labour Party.
I think there's talk of getting one for Bristol, isn't there? So I think the good thing about things happening in London, it's a bit of a bellwether, is that if it gains traction here, then it will gain traction elsewhere.
Right.
So I don't think it's just a case of one set of rules for privileged Londoners. Rents across the country are stupidly high.
Julie M says, I think there's a lot of people moving out of London, so a freeze or reduction will be needed to prevent empty properties. Oh, yes. My dad was a landlord, says Henrietta Henson. It was his pension, so it snowballs down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of these things, it's a little bit like the animal kingdom, isn't it? The cycle of life. It's like if you take one thing out of the food chain,
circle of life.
you need a small tiger, don't you? A lion to hold aloft.
Yeah. Xander Gibb, Boris Johnson is far too influenced by Dominic Cummings, and what does he actually... Oh, lost you. Yeah. Actually know about anything. Yes. Who can know what goes on behind those closed doors? We just can't know, can we?
Caitlin Ross, renting from a landlord. It's a power dynamic, automatically putting the renter with less power, therefore help has to be given to the weaker party. Absolutely. Do you think we'll go into another lockdown? I don't think I could bear it again. Well, no.
Just to pick up on that, Caitlin, though. So what if, and I agree, the renter is always the more vulnerable, but what if they freeze the rent and then the mortgage company take back the property? Then where are we? Because you can only default for about 3 months.
Think maybe there should be a ban on seizures from
That's what's got to happen. It's got to be also that mortgage companies can't seize.
You know, because there was such a rush on mortgage applications, for the first time in the history of issuing mortgages, most of our major banks had to stop new applications last month because there was just such a surge. I don't know whether it's because people are moving out.
It's because of the stamp duty.
Stamp duty, but also people moving out of London. I think people are just cashing in.
Yeah, I mean, and a couple of people that I know, loose women, crew and stuff that I chat to that have been wanting to buy a property for the last couple of years, they are all buying now. So, God, this is our only chance. The interest rate is low, stamp duty is low. If we don't get in now, we'll probably never buy somewhere.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's just times of millions.
Yeah, someone was just asking, do we think a second lockdown? The WHO was talking about there being a second wave, and even the WHO that sends out very mixed signals.
I hate
sometimes.
the WHO.
Yeah, but they're saying any second wave cannot be as bad. It just can't be. So,
just remind yourselves, guys, I went to bed a bit anxious last night, I have to say, because I read something from the WHO again. And, it's so interesting. You can always look for something else that has a different opinion. So, you can sort of balance it out. But I went to bed really, really anxious, didn't I? I was like, oh my God, I'm really worried about the pandemic. But it's like we've said lots of times on here before, we are now, not everyone's social distancing, a lot are. Not everyone's washing their hands all the time, but a lot are. Most elderly are much more careful and don't go out. It just can't be the same as last time. It just can't.
No, it can't be.
I do think they're going to close schools more and more, though.
I think there's going to be I think we're going to see that more often, just because the infrastructure of running a school is made impossible for headmasters. Passive aggressive. Please remember, there are those who've rented out small flats still have to pay mortgages. I'm not a millionaire by any means. Absolutely. There are many nice landlords, and there are many landlords that are making ends meet in precisely as tight a way as everyone else. So there's no sort of judgment here. I mean, there are bad landlords, like there are bad pub landlords. Like there are bad policemen, there are bad all things, aren't there?
Was that Sushi Clift? Let me just have a look at your name. Sashi Clift, thank you so much. Just said lovely things about our podcast.
Hello from Sydney, Australia.
And it really helps with her 17-year-old son and 15-year-old daughter.
What was this week's podcast about?
This week's podcast was about why do we have children in the first place?
Yeah, it's a question that comes up in our book, but it's quite a funny one if you start to really interrogate. I mean, obviously there's the thing of because I want a family and all that, but if then you go into that and then really ask the question, well, what am I wanting from having a child? Is this a little bit about an extension of me and my ego and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and also we asked the same about GCSEs, and the chase for the high marks on the GCSEs. So, we've said it before, our book isn't just for homeschoolers. It's also for parents.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there about just being a parent.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jess.
Healthy Mummy Cat, side note, your Vlogmas videos keep popping up, so I'm currently lost in Christmas.
Oh,
What am I?
lose yourself in Christmas.
Is it the first
We've
signs of
really
Christmas
got to
yet?
start...
Have we seen the first signs of Christmas?
Yeah, they did a Christmas item a couple of weeks ago on This Morning.
Did they? Lucy Miller, where do we find your podcast? If you go into the information description of this video beneath here on YouTube, if you're watching on telly, you won't be able to do that, but on a laptop or an iPad or something like that, there's a link. But you just go to the Apple Podcasts app, or go to Spotify, or go to Global Player.
Fifi says, oh my God, I want to rewatch Vlogmas. Well, guess what?
You can.
You can.
Yeah.
It's going to sit there forever. We're never going to take them down.
Yeah, we don't
You can
take
go
stuff
through
down. A
all
lot of
the
people
old
take
Vlogmas.
stuff down. I don't see why. I think let's just leave it up.
There's a shop near me, says Sky Elise, that has Christmas decorations all ready for sale.
Wow.
What's that? Oh, we took the rubbish out. We took the rubbish out. Oh, our friend John's here, which means we are going to have to wrap up. Yeah, thank you everybody so much. If you've enjoyed this live, please hit the thumbs up just below us. And we'll see you really soon. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Bye, guys.